Are we leaving Ukraine in the dust? Are we leaving Ukraine just to get on with it? So let me know if you think we should do more to help Ukraine or less. Are you fed up with taxpayer money or ammunition going to Ukraine? Do you think it is time that we stop supporting them? The trouble is, if we do, what happens next? Well, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban has blocked a 50 billion EU aid package for Ukraine hours after leaders sidestepped his opposition to agree to open talks with Kyiv on joining the bloc. A crunch summit in Brussels broke up close to 3 a.m. Now, Orban, basically what he's saying is, look, they're never going to win, so we might as well pull the plug now. I'm paraphrasing, but that is pretty much what he's saying. And he says it's time for them to sit down. Now, we do know that he's an ally of Putin's. We've seen photographs of them recently shaking hands. So, and he's always sort of sided with Putin. Is this a step too far? Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. Joining me now, I'm delighted to say, is Professor Anthony Glees, who's a European security expert. Professor, good morning.
Good morning, Petrie.
Great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, look, I don't think this is a great surprise that Hungary has done that, but I think the timing's interesting.
Well, the timing is interesting, and yes, you're right, it isn't a great surprise. Orban has been the skunk at the picnic for a very long time in the European Union. But the fact of the matter is that he hasn't actually vetoed giving the aid to Ukraine, much needed aid. He left the room for a cup of coffee when the vote was taken, and effectively he has simply delayed it. It's not the end of the world, to tell you the truth. He is a skunk in every sense, but this is not really going to stop things, and it's not going to push Hungary out of the European Union. They get millions and billions from the European Union. They pay in 1 billion euros a year. They get 6 billion straight back, and then they get access of many billions to European Union structural funds. He's not a complete idiot, Orban. He's trying to have his cake and eat it, and it's loathsome.
I mean, that is a good point there, Anthony, because it's cowardly, actually, what he did. It's like with our MPs in this country when they don't vote. It's like, no, we're paying you to vote. But so when you say, no, I abstain, I think it's cowardly. It show us who you are. And Orban walking out like that, like you said, it's neither one thing or the other. And I don't know how he thought that would play. It looks bad.
Well, it does look bad, but he doesn't care. And the surprising thing is that there are enough Hungarians that seem to think he's super, he's having his cake and eating it. But what's far more sinister about Orban is his relationship with Putin, of course. And many people do regard him as Putin's agent of influence inside the European Union. I think Putin probably thinks that. We shouldn't forget that Hungary gets oil from Russia, despite European Union sanctions, and he also gets like 80% of the gas that Hungary uses. So he's playing a horrible, cynical game. But, what we have to stress is that he realizes he doesn't actually want to fall out of the European Union. It's in his interest. And I think those people who are looking at this fracas to say, oh, the European Union's about to implode, that is simply not the case. And the figures, the GDP of the European Union is like 18 trillion euros. Our own GDP in the UK is 3. So, it makes obvious sense to Hungary. It quids in every single way. But it is a stress point for Europe, because the bottom line here is whether we in the UK can get on with our European allies. It's very significant that Rishi Sunak's gone to Italy, very much part of Sunak's approach to try and do deals with EU members, but also to reinforce the aid that needs to be given to Ukraine. because Putin cannot win this war. If he wins it, we lose it, and Europe becomes less safe. And that's a really important point.
But at the moment, are we really helping Ukraine? And I think this is an interesting question, because we're drip feeding them, and that in itself is prolonging the war and the situation. Do we need to go big with Ukraine in terms of helping them win this? Look, nobody really thought it was going to go on as long as it has. It could go on for years and years. People don't have the will to keep sending money to Ukraine. Like I said, America's already sort of, thinking about not wanting to do it. Trump has said if he gets into power, he's definitely not going to do it. A lot of other people are saying we can't afford it. We're being wishy-washy, and this is feeding Putin, because he's now going, well, all I've got to do is wait it out, and I can just stomp all the way through Ukraine.
Well, you're right about Putin. I mean, whether it is Putin, whether it's Putin's avatar, his AI-generated avatar that's speaking, God only knows. I mean, talk about a man of mystery. But you're absolutely right. And what everybody is hoping for, what Orban is hoping for, is that in 2024, Donald J. Trump will be elected the next president of the United States. Trump has said no more cash for Ukraine. He'll end the war in 24 hours. And that is why you see that big smile on Putin's frozen face, or is it his avatar? I don't know. It's a question of waiting. And so, Petrie, you're absolutely right. We need to throw everything we have now as supporting Zelensky and Ukraine. His fight is our fight. Because make no mistake, Ukraine is just the first slice of what Putin actually wants. He wants to reorganize the territorial space occupied by Russia, to take back those bits of the Soviet system that were lost in 1991, and in particular, of course, Ukraine, and then move on to taking back those states that left the satellite system, like Hungary, the Baltic republics, even Poland. So his plans are a major threat. And it's not me that's saying that. It's the U.S. National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, who said that if we did not stop Putin in Ukraine, American servicemen and women would once again have to get involved in what Jake Sullivan called a massive war in Europe. 2024 is going to be an absolutely pivotal year, partly because we fear the return of the chaos in the United States of America, but also because it could be make or break over Ukraine. But if it's a make for Putin, it's a break for us, all of us, even here in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading recently, Anthony, that basically it would probably take 5 years for Russia to rebuild enough to mount a campaign against those countries in bordering Ukraine, and that we are ill prepared to do anything about it.
Well, Petrie, Putin, who again, if it's him or his avatar, does not seem to age. And he clearly thinks that he is going to be there for a very, very long time. He's standing for re-election next year, as everybody knows. But what we must never forget is that Putin has had, or the system behind him has had, significant success this year when he got rid of the most serious opposition to him, Yevgeny Prigozhin. People like me always said it was going to be a fight to the death between one or the other, and it was Prigozhin that got knocked down out of the sky. So he's done that. The other thing is he's got the Wagner Group now in his hands, and they are going through Central Africa, pillaging, literally taking gold out of Africa in return for protection for dictators in Central Africa. And we're talking, I think I saw a figure of 50 million pounds a month from the Wagner Group go to the Kremlin. So they can afford to buy more weapons. That's the point. So, yeah, he can hold his breath a long time, Putin. That's why we need to kick him out of Ukraine decisively now.
Professor, thank you very much indeed, as ever. Professor Anthony Glees, the European security expert. So what do you think? Do you think we go all in or all out of Ukraine? Have you had enough of sending money there and not seeing any real movement?